The name echoes through 3 millennia, Troy. We see the towering walls defiant under a Bronze Age sun. We hear the clash of bronze on bronze, the war cries of legendary heroes. Achilles, invincible and furious. Hector, noble protector of his city. We see 1,000 ships launched by the face of Helen, the most beautiful woman in the world. And we see the gods themselves walking the bloody battlefield, tipping the scales of fate with a whisper or a spear thrust. This is the Trojan War, as sung by the blind poet Homer in the Iliad. It is the West's founding epic, a story of rage, honor, and destiny that has captivated us for countless generations. It is the greatest war story ever told. But what if the story is a lie? What if the divine intervention that dictated the 10-year siege was not the will of the gods, but a brilliant piece of political theater? And what if the city's legendary fall had nothing to do with a giant wooden horse? Prepare for the whispers of Olympus to fade as we search for the truth in the dust and shadows of a war that was both history and myth. Our investigation begins not on the battlefield, but with the storyteller. Homer. The first thing you must understand is that Homer was not a historian. He was a poet, a bard. He wasn't writing in the immediate aftermath of the war. He was composing his epic nearly 400 years after the city of Troy was believed to have fallen. 4 centuries of silence. A dark age where writing was lost and history survived only as song, passed down from one generation of storyteller to the next. Imagine that. A story being retold, embellished, and magnified in the firelight of 1,000 longhouses for hundreds of years before it was ever written down. In Homer's Iliad, the gods are not distant observers. They are active, petty, and biased participants. Apollo rains down plague on the Greek camp. Hera and Athena plot against the Trojans. Zeus weighs the fates of men on his golden scales. This divine machinery makes for incredible drama. But was it propaganda? The answer is almost certainly yes. By the time Homer was composing his epic, Greece was a collection of scattered, often warring city-states. Athens, Sparta, Corinth. They needed a shared identity, a unifying past. The Iliad provided it. It gave them a glorious, pan-Hellenic history where their ancestors fought side by side as one people, the Achaeans, against a common foreign enemy. And by claiming the gods were on their side, it wasn't just a story of a military victory. It became a story of divine mandate. It was the world's first great work of propaganda, binding a fractured people together with the power of a shared myth. But propaganda needs a kernel of truth. Was there ever a real Troy? For centuries, scholars believed it was a place of pure fiction. Then came Heinrich Schliemann, a controversial 19th century amateur archaeologist, obsessed with Homer since childhood. He staked his fortune on the belief that Troy was real, and in modern-day Turkey, at a mound called Hisarlik, he started digging. And archaeologically, there is zero evidence for it. So what was it? Historians believe the horse was a clever metaphor, a poetic symbol for something far more mundane, yet just as deadly. One theory is that it represented a siege engine. Ancient Assyrian reliefs show armies using massive, timber-frame battering rams, sometimes covered in wet animal hides to protect them from fire arrows. Could a powerful siege engine, perhaps named the horse, have been the real key to breaching Troy's impenetrable walls? Another theory is more elemental. The god of the sea, Poseidon, who in the myth sided with the Greeks, was also the god of earthquakes and horses. Was the Trojan horse a poetic description of a devastating earthquake that shattered the city defenses, allowing the waiting Greek army to pour in? Or perhaps the truth is one of human failing. The horse could have been a symbol for internal strife, a password for a group of traitors inside the walls who opened the gates for the enemy in the dead of night. Betrayal, not a wooden animal, may have been the real undoing of Troy. Whether the horse was a ram, a quake, or a conspiracy, the myth of the Trojan War became more powerful than the event itself. Its aftermath shaped the identity of the entire classical world. For centuries, Greek city-states legitimized their power and their conquests by claiming direct lineage from the heroes of the Iliad. To be descended from Achilles or Odysseus was a claim to greatness. When Alexander the Great launched his invasion of the Persian Empire, One of his first acts was to visit the supposed tomb of Achilles at Troy, explicitly framing his campaign as a new chapter in the ancient, epic struggle between East and West. Even the Romans co-opted the legend. Virgil's Aeneid created a new foundation myth for Rome, claiming they were descended from the Trojan hero Aeneas, who escaped the burning city to found a new and greater empire in Italy. The Trojan War, a probable small-scale Bronze Age conflict over trade routes or resources, was magnified into a cosmic struggle between gods and men. This amplified story became a cornerstone of Western identity, a political tool used to justify ambition and conquest for 1,000 years. The whispers from Olympus were not divine, they were deeply human. They were the sound of a civilization telling itself a story about who it was and who it was destined to become. The real legacy of Troy isn't buried in the earth. It's embedded in our culture, a timeless lesson in the power of a story to build an empire.